Good morning. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Monday, the 6th of October. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at chartingthemarkets.substack.com, and it's published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. All right, let's have a look at ES. Now, ES... we saw a bit of a decline on Friday afternoon. That's largely been got back. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. That's been very slow to make it to target and is still not at target or close to it. NQ has already gone back and retested the high, possible little level top here, of course. We had a little level top here that broke down. Obviously, that's failed back up into a high retest. RTY, we do have some potential for some 60-minute sell signals here. Retest of the high on... RTY would set one brewing, and a retest of the high on YM would set one brewing as well. No current prospect on ES because, of course, there's already a sell signal fixed, and not particularly close to one on NQ either. We've got possible double top setups on RTY and YM, but there's not an awful lot suggesting those are going to play out. I did a post this morning about where we are in terms of the weekly stats and the overall setup on the daily charts this morning, so have a read of that. But at the moment, leaning long, we've got a fairly neutral leaning week from the stats which are listed in there. On DAX, we've got a weak 6-minute sell signal, and that's reached a possible near miss target, forming what looks an awful lot like a bull flag. On ESTX, we've made it back into a back test of the weekly pivot, so we've seen a bit of a retrace after a strong week. Might see more, but currently no particularly interesting patterns to mention. Looking at the bigger picture charts, SPX, I mentioned, we've got a daily RSI 14 sell signal brewing here, and we've got another one on Qs, and we've got another one already, which fixed in August on Dia, and we've got another one, a weak one, which fixed on IWM in July. RSI 14s do not tend to be immediate sell signals. I'm more interested in the possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing on the Qs, as this did the smallest retracement a few days ago. But what I would say is that only one of these isn't particularly impressive. Normally, I'd love to see 2 or 3 of them. We shall see. We have not got any significant retracement on the hourly charts. Divergence on the hourly charts. We could get some. They wouldn't be all that impressive. And in terms of the topping patterns, we do have this could be topping action, but there's nothing particularly impressive about it. Looking at the Qs, no divergence on the hourly. Doesn't look as much like a double top here as it did. I did say that was likely to weaken if we saw retest the high on Dia and IWM, and we saw both of those last week. This could just about be a double top, and the one on IWM looks bad. No divergence on the hourly charts, nothing saying to me that this is about to retrace. I was talking about the impact of the government shutdown this morning, but I have to say, historically, the way I broke it down, you can see that it actually looks pretty neutral for any month other than September. And obviously this one started in October. So we'll see how long that goes on. Not particularly encouraging that there don't seem to be any negotiations at the moment. And the longer this goes on, the more likely it is to have an impact on equity markets. But that's something I think we'd probably be thinking more about in a couple of weeks. And then by that stage, we might have some more encouraging stuff on the chart suggesting that we might see a retracement. Right, looking at IWM. IWM on the daily chart, obviously retested the high, gone a bit through it. It wouldn't be a bad time to consolidate a bit. We got pretty close to the 3SD upper band. Weak RSI 14 sell signal. If we didn't already have one, another one would be brewing here. On the hourly chart, no current divergence, possible double top. Not a bad one, but not much suggesting it's going to break down. DAX, we've made it back up to... we made it back up to the 3SD upper band. I am wondering about a bit more retracement here. We've not seen a lot so far, although we were seeing a bit on Friday. So in terms of Nikkei, looks like this is returning to the highs. Now, we do have a minor issue there in that we didn't make it back to the support trend line, and the resistance trend line is not going to be an awful long way above. We will see how that goes. But as soon as we retest that high, we'll have if we didn't already have an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, we'll have another one brewing. The RSI 5 sell signal are fixed up here at the high, made target. We saw a perfect retest pretty much of the daily middle band. That was a nice little retrace, which isn't really, we're going to see more afterwards. All right. Hey, George. All right, looking at DX. DX, I'll recap ES at the end, mate. DX, we've got this head and shoulders here that failed. That would generally result in a high retest, and we're pretty close to that high retest. I'm thinking this may continue higher. Some support on that on the currency charts. I'm waiting. I'm pretty close to a retest this low on USD, so obviously going to wait and see. But this could be a head and shoulders forming. And on DX, this could be an inverted head and shoulders forming as well. So, I mean, really, we've got some decent support for going higher from here. We will see, because this was a failed breakdown and it's reversed. Equally, we could be forming a larger double top, but my lean, I think, would be to the upside. On ZB, this little level bottom here has almost failed back into a retest of the lows. We will see how that develops. I'm overall, on the bigger picture charts, I'm leaning fairly neutral. We've got a 60-minute buy signal, which is fixed overnight here on ZB. On ZN, I like this IHS here. It's very, very nice. But if we see it close significantly down, which it looks as though we will, sorry, it opens significantly down, which it looks as though we will, then that's going to weaken that. Shame, because that was a really nice inverted head and shoulder pattern. Okay, looking at CL, we reached the possible near miss target. I'm thinking we may be about to see another leg down, but we still got one of we had buy signals on all of CL, HO, and RBOB, and the only one still open is the one on HO, but you can see that's almost come back and retested the low already. RBOB has been stronger, and the buy signal has reached the possible near miss target here. Keeping an open mind, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this go down, but I was putting the argument yesterday on the bigger picture, so have a look at that on the possibility that now that RBOB has retested the big low that I was talking about, we've got a possible double bottom there. We've now got potential bottoming patterns on all three of these. And we've got OPEC pretty close, apparently, to a deal to reduce production, which would generally be pretty bullish for oil prices. I'm thinking we could be seeing a large turn back upwards here on oil. I'll try and do a post on that. I was going to do one last week, but I injured my hand on Friday. So I didn't. I was avoiding doing much typing. Okay, GC. GC, we are up at wedge resistance again, breaking slightly over it. I was talking at length yesterday about how this kind of uptrend is kind of like a multi-week or multi-month trend day. You'll see a lot of in very strong trends. You'll see quite a lot of counter trend setups, but they'll generally fail. That's what we've been seeing really here on the metals. SI, possible double top here, but I mean, when we broke over for the 40 to 42 area in this move here, I was saying that the obvious next target was 49.51, and we've now made it up to within a buck of that. I'm thinking we may well test that before we see any kind of retracement. On palladium, we had a likely bull flag forming that has broken up, and I'm expecting to see a retest of that high. Platinum got there first, broke up first, made the high retest first. This is obviously could be a double top, and we've got a 6-minute sell signal fixed, but again, I wouldn't trust these in terms of counter trend patterns at the moment. HG, I broke this. I had a close look at this, and I broke this down into two patterns, which is the initial flag, then the breakup, which has formed a rising wedge. That's quite a nice looking rising wedge. We've got a 6-minute sell signal fixed. You can see how that gets on today, but if we see a break below the wedge and that gets a bit of momentum, I think we can see that, finally see this retest of the 4.38 low that I've been leaning towards seeing for a couple of months now. UUSD. Sorry, we've already covered that. KC. KC, we've got an IHS which broke up here and then almost immediately fell. So really, if we fell, as long as we fail to get back over the monthly pivot and convert that to support, I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of this low at 350. We'll see whether we got it. SB. This is heading towards the IHS target in the 1682 area, and after that, I've got larger double bottom resistance in the 1687 area. I'm thinking this may have a long way to go to the upside. CC, we saw a significant breakdown last week, and we broke this very nice wedge support trend line. This is a less nice possible channel support trend line, and we've gone slightly through that too. I'm thinking this may follow through to the downside. We do have a possible weak 60-minute buy signal brewing. On CT, I'm leaning towards a retest lower. We'll see how that goes. Lumber, we've got a double bottom here which hasn't quite made target and looks as though it might still do that. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. On wheat and corn, I'm leaning long on both of these. I'm wondering about this as a potential double bottom. On corn, this flag, which I was having some doubts about as we got down to here, that was a bullish underthrow, it appears, and we should be heading back into flag resistance currently in the 424 area. Looking at soy, we've got an IHS, quite a nice IHS actually, which is broken up with a target in the 1046 area. Unless we see a breakdown below this right shoulder low currently at about the 107, 108 area, then I'm leaning towards that making target. On ZL, this does look like a bear flag, and we're holding the monthly pivot as resistance at the moment. Live cattle, this looks like a bullish consolidation, without really decent trend lines. HE, we've broken down from a double top here with a target below, and at the moment I'm not seeing anything suggesting we won't make that target, and I've got that. Actually, I've got that in about the 84.25 to 85 area, so we shall see how that goes. All right, just to recap on ES and the others. We've got some daily sell signals brewing on ES and the Qs. We've got a daily RSI 5 sell signal brewing on the Qs, but only one of those. Daily RSI 14 sell signals seem to be much slower. In terms of the short term, 60-minute sell signal hasn't really been delivering anything so far, but hasn't made target yet. DAX made the possible near miss target. We saw retest of the highs across the board last week, and really there's not much to suggest there isn't a lean higher. I've done a post about that, and I've done a post about the weekly stats for this week. But with the with the slight concern over the shutdown, which becomes more of a concern the longer it lasts, this is still a strong uptrend. It's got clear support at the daily middle bands, and we're back at new highs. I'm not seeing an awful lot to suggest this isn't going to continue higher. So we'll see how that goes this week. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. Looking at questions. Nope, no questions. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you again tomorrow morning.